A ship with 28 people aboard was trapped in the Antarctic Ocean, surrounded by millions of tons of ice. For 7 months, they had been stuck in the very same spot. Then, one night, a loud noise suddenly came from beneath the ship, and at the same time, it tilted sharply to one side. It seemed as if a powerful force had tried to shove the vessel from below. What followed was something none of them could have ever imagined. Welcome back to Amir videos. Imagine an ocean where waves tower as high as buildings, winds scream at 100 kilometers per hour, and the water is so cold it can freeze human blood. To travel here is to embrace death itself. Surviving the cold and waves is one thing, but icebergs as massive as mountains can effortlessly crush a ship. Yet 111 years ago, when technology was far less advanced, a ship carrying 28 people found itself stranded in this very terrifying ocean. Under the open sky, they didn't spend just a few weeks or months. Astonishingly, they endured for a full 2 years. With nothing but endless ice, stormy winds, scarce food and water, and no hope of rescue. This has become a survival story the world calls the greatest survival story of all time. The hero of this tale is Sir Ernest Shackleton, an explorer on a mission to test the limits of human endurance, which is why he gave his ship the name Endurance. He was no stranger to perilous missions. In 1901, he was part of an Antarctic expedition that turned back 750 kilometers from its goal. In 1907, he tried again, only to be forced back a mere 150 kilometers short. This time, in 1914, his plan was even more ambitious, not just to reach Antarctica, but to cross the entire continent on foot. His motivation was simple. Sir Ernest Shackleton wanted to achieve what no one had ever done before. This mission, dubbed the Imperial Transantarctic Expedition, was so dangerous that finding willing participants was Sir Ernest's first major challenge. He placed an advertisement in the Times newspaper. This was no ordinary listing. It began with the words, "Men wanted for hazardous journey." It was brutally honest. Low pay, deadly cold, months of complete darkness, constant danger, and no guarantee of a safe return. Shackleton sought individuals who did not fear danger. Soon, he had hired a crew of 27 men. For 4 years, Sir Ernest had planned this expedition. But as the departure neared, World War I began, casting doubt on the entire venture. While everyone assumed it would be cancelled, Britain, despite having declared war, gave the Imperial Transantarctic Expedition its permission to proceed. The mission demanded an incredibly strong ship, one capable of slicing through the ice-choked Antarctic Ocean. Such a vessel wasn't easy to come by. Fortunately, one already existed, built for Arctic voyages. A Norwegian company had constructed it for another explorer aiming to take clients on polar bear hunts, but his business had failed. Sir Ernest purchased the ship and christened it Endurance. It was a special ship, built with thick American oak wood, designed to withstand immense ice pressure. A hybrid vessel equipped with both sails and an engine. Finally, the day Sir Ernest had long awaited arrived. On August 8, 1914, Endurance set sail from Plymouth, England. The next 4 months were spent crossing the Atlantic Ocean, stopping first in Argentina, then at South Georgia Island for final preparations. On December 5, 1914, they pointed the ship towards the Weddell Sea in the Antarctic Ocean. On board were the 28-man crew and 50 large dogs intended to haul supplies across the Antarctic ice. For 46 days they journeyed, coming within a single day's reach of the Antarctic coast. But on January 18, 1915, their first major obstacle appeared. The ice layers in the Weddell Sea grew thicker and thicker, eventually reaching 18 feet in depth. Endurance no longer had the power to break through. The ice was also too unstable to attempt travel on foot. The ship was stuck about 130 kilometers from its target, Vassal Bay. What seemed like a temporary delay would become the expedition's greatest problem. They spent days in continuous effort, even attempting to manually free the 300-ton ship. After 2 full days of cutting ice to clear a path, the crew was utterly exhausted, having moved the ship a mere 300 meters before it became stuck once more. After a month of struggle, Sir Ernest conceded defeat on February 14, 1915. He decided to let the ship drift with the natural movement of the ice, hoping it would be released as the season changed. During this time, Endurance became their winter station. The crew established a routine, their morale kept high by Sir Ernest's strict discipline. They played soccer, held discussions, cut each other's hair, and cooked, all while waiting for the ice to break. The days turned into months, and the crew grew very close, even forming emotional bonds with their animals. Everyone held onto hope. But fate had other plans. In April 1915, the ice began to break, but an unexpected event occurred. The increasing pressure caused massive ice layers to ride up over one another. The force from millions of tons of compacting ice started pressing down on Endurance. The crew worked together for weeks to chip away the ice and relieve the pressure. Averted disaster for the moment, but the threat lingered. Then, on the night of July 14, 1915, a jarring sound erupted from below, and the ship lurched to one side. Was it a whale? No one knew. The morning revealed the shocking truth. The ice pressure had not only tilted the ship, but had also shattered its rudder, the vital component for steering. The crew had now been trapped for 7 months, over 2,000 kilometers from any human contact, with no way to call for help. Their only hope was their leader, Sir Ernest Shackleton. By October 18, 1915, the expedition's dream was shattered. The crew had been immobilized for 9 months. One night, a new pressure wave hit, instantly tilting Endurance by 30 degrees. The ship began to leak as water poured in through cracks. The entire crew battled through the night to save their vessel, but the fight was lost. On October 27, 1915, Shackleton gave the order to abandon ship. It was the only way to save their lives. They salvaged essential supplies, the animals, food, lifeboats, and bedding, and found themselves stranded on the ice sheet under the open sky. They watched as the ship that had been their home was crushed by the ice and slowly sank beneath the surface. The pressing question now was, how long could they survive on this floating ice? Shackleton knew staying was not safe. He aimed for Paulet Island, 550 kilometers away, rumored to have supplies. But reaching it in 3 small lifeboats was too risky. So they decided to walk. The trek towards Paulet Island became the most dangerous chapter of their adventure. For the next 6 months, they faced constant peril. The ice floes they camped on would crack or drift unpredictably. Luckily, the drift was carrying them slowly towards Paulet Island. With food and water running out, they survived by hunting penguins and seals. By February 1916, after 13 months of journeying, they were reduced to 1 biscuit per meal. The situation grew so desperate the following month that they were forced to kill their dogs for food. Just as they hoped to find supplies on Paulet Island, the ice floe they were on changed direction, carrying them instead towards Elephant Island. They endured stormy seas and temperatures of -20 degrees Celsius, with many men suffering from frostbite and swollen mouths that made swallowing agony. By April 1916, they miraculously reached Elephant Island. It was the first solid ground they had stood on in 16 months. But Elephant Island was barren and offered no long-term salvation. Their only hope was a suicidal mission, a 1,300 kilometers journey to South Georgia Island in a lifeboat. On April 24, 1916, Shackleton and 5 chosen men set sail. They faced one of the world's most dangerous seas, with 90-foot waves and freezing cold that threatened to freeze them solid. With no GPS or proper compass, they navigated by the stars and sun. After 16 grueling days, on May 10, 1916, they landed on South Georgia Island. But they had arrived on the uninhabited side. Before them stood a 4,000-foot mountain range. After 36 hours of non-stop climbing, they reached the other side and a whaling station. Shackleton was so weathered he was unrecognizable. No one could believe the man who had left over a year ago was standing before them. After 3 days of recovery, Shackleton immediately began attempts to rescue the 22 men left on Elephant Island. Several tries failed. Finally, on August 30th, 1916, he spotted a smoke signal on the horizon. As he drew closer, to his absolute astonishment, he found every single member of his crew alive and well. They had set sail from England on August 8, 1914. After 2 years and 22 days, Shackleton had brought his entire team home safely. He never achieved his original goal. His previous attempts to reach the South Pole had failed, and this expedition fell 120 kilometers short. But this incredible survival story earned him a legendary status that a mere successful mission never could. 107 years later, in 2022, the Endurance was finally located on the Antarctic ocean floor. Resting 3,000 meters below, it was found in near-perfect condition, its name still clearly visible on the stern. We hope you enjoyed this Amir video. Thank you for your loving comments. See you in the next fantastic video.